Welcome to the Whisky Explorer. Thanks so much for tuning in for another review, guys. And if this is your first time on the channel, if you could please do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and we will continue the conversation at the Whisky Explorer. I'd just like to thank all of you so much, each and every one of you, for joining me on this whiskey journey. And if you'd like to follow me over on Instagram as well, you could do so. My handle there is Whisky Explorer 1. And we have got a very interesting review for you guys tonight. We have got a blended scotch, but not just any blended scotch. We have got the Chivas Regal 21-year Royal Salute. All right, guys, so let's unveil this here. We can see that on one side here on this beautiful sort of velvet or velour, a blue bag, you have the branding, which is the Chivas Brothers. On the back, you have Royal Salute, and we'll just open this up here and show you guys this very cool decanter that it comes in. So this one here comes in a variety of these different styles of decanters, and I'll show you guys some more of the close-up of the decanter in the B-roll, but it's a pretty cool looking ceramic decanter. This one here kind of has the dark green kind of blue motif on it, and I do know that there are different colors of this one. I think so there's like a blue and a green, and there may be even one other color. So this one here is a 21-year-old blend from Chivas Regal, and it's a very cool presentation that you can see there. And this is actually on loan to the channel from our good friend Kyle. And if you've been following the channel for some time, you know that Kyle is one of the original Whisky Explorers, and he lent this bottle for review for the channel. And this is actually a bottle that he purchased from a relative, and the relative actually didn't know. It was sort of someone else had purchased it, wasn't quite sure exactly how old it was. So this is actually a bit of a dusty version of the Chivas Regal 21-year Royal Salute. We weren't able to pin down exactly what time frame it was from, but we think it was probably in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's very similar to the bottle design of the current Chivas Regal 21-year Royal Salute. So that's sort of a very similar decanter that it comes in now. And you may notice as well on top, you're looking at the top, and you may have noticed that there's a Blanton's Gold stopper in there. So that is, of course, because the cork broke on this during the uncorking. I tried very gingerly to kind of separate it from the bottle, but of course, over that amount of time, the cork had kind of decayed and rotted. So when we pulled it apart, the cork did break, so we lost the original cork. But luckily, if that happens for you guys, you can know that a Blanton's Gold stopper or a Blanton's regular stopper is going to fit perfectly in your bottle there. I thought this was quite a fitting bottle stopper there for this, so just kind of left it in there, and I think it looks pretty good, actually. All right, so 21-year-old blend. This is a duty-free purchase, I believe, because if we look on here, it says Hong Kong and it says DNP, and I think that denotes that it's a duty-free purchase from the Hong Kong airport. All right, and we know also that this is a 700 milliliter bottle, and it is bottled at 40% alcohol by volume, so definitely a little bit lower on the proof side, but let's jump into the review here and see what we can find out about this blended scotch here. It also comes with, on the neck tag here, there's a tax strip there, sort of a faux tax strip, as well as a little booklet here about the 21-year-old Royal Salute, just blended Scotch whiskey. And basically, this is a weighed ceramic decanter. So for people that collect ceramic decanters, I think the Wade brand is supposed to be one of the good ones there. So there you go. And the 21-year-old Salute, if you guys are interested in where it gets the name for that, you could look that up. Essentially, it has to basically do with the 21 gun salute. Without further ado, let's jump into the whiskey itself. All right, having a quick look at the color in the glass before we go in for a nose, we can see that this is actually like quite a rich kind of medium amber color. Now, of course, it being a blended scotch, we have to assume that this is chill filtered and does have color added. So there's probably the E150 caramel color added in here. However, one thing that we could dispute on that, just theorizing here, is that since it's in a decanter, they don't actually have to have that consistency in color from clear bottle to clear bottle, because the consumer's actually not seeing the liquid in the bottle. So perhaps it is natural color, but it definitely sort of has that suspicious look to it, where I think we've got the E150 or the caramel colorant added to it as well. It's going to be chill filtered and bottled at 40%. So it does leave a little bit to be desired in the presentation, but of course, as you know, many Scotch blends are at that 40% ABV. So let's go in here for a nose. On the nose, guys. Cheers. Wow. Wow, actually, you know what, guys? Even though it's only 40%, the nose, the aroma sure jumps out of the glass there. Like, it really jumps out. So I'm getting like a really rich cereal, malty grain note, almost like very rich butterscotch, caramel, vanilla, and just a very sweet, inviting malt overtone to the whole nosing experience here. That's the main component here, is a really sweet, malty nose to it. I mean, for 40% ABV, this is absolutely just leaping out of the glass in terms of the aroma. Very pleasant and inviting on the nose. It's like butterscotch, vanilla ice cream, like maybe even like a butterscotch ripple ice cream. That strong malt component. There is some fruit here, and it's hard to sort of pinpoint what it is, so it's definitely leaning to red fruit, so like red stewed fruits. Maybe like a sweet plum. Just a really, really inviting nose, actually, guys. Really nice nose. Lots of like sugar, brown sugar, and cinnamon. A little bit of spiciness, a little bit of baking spices coming out in the nose as well. A very rich, kind of velvety, inviting, desserty type nose to this blended Scotch here. Well, without further ado, guys, let's go in for a taste on the palate. Cheers. Okay, so I would say the palate doesn't quite live up to that really vibrant, inviting nose. There is some carry through in the flavor, but it's a much lighter, softer experience than what I was expecting based on the nosing. Soft, subdued flavors here. Vanilla, butterscotch. There's a strong oak component right in the middle of the palate. Right in the meat of the palate, there's a very strong oak note. Not necessarily astringent, but it certainly lets you know it's there. And it's not like a sweet oak that you get from like a well-aged bourbon. It's kind of more assertive and definitely more kind of wood present. Like, it's got more presence to it. It's got more kick. More like fresh oak almost than a sweet sort of aged oak. So primarily on the palate here, we're getting like a little bit of that maltiness flavor, subdued vanilla, butterscotch and caramel, a hint of that sort of jammy, cooked down red fruit, like maybe a ripe plum or something like that. The finish is quite drying, so it's a little bit drying on the finish. A little bit of astringency from the oak there. Some subtle spicing, so maybe light, like white pepper. But a fairly straightforward, soft, kind of subdued palate. Let's go in for a second sip here and see if I can get a little bit more. All right, on the palate, guys, second sip. Cheers. Yeah, so even when I went in for the second sip there, I could nose all this beautiful honey and this maltiness, like a butterscotch caramel inviting nose. Super rich, super indulgent on the nose. and the palate just doesn't quite deliver at that level. So all of the flavors are just quite, I would say, packed down or condensed, or sort of like there's a limiter on it, like for an audio term, like you've got a limiter on there and it's kind of limiting all those flavors. They're tight, they're not kind of opening up, very tight, kind of concentric. And what it ends up being is a little bit of vanilla sweetness at the beginning, that malty character, almost like a biscuit note, then a little bit of that ripe sort of cooked down red fruit in the middle of the palate, but a very sort of oak present, oak heavy mid palate, drying finish with a little bit of spicing in there, so maybe a hint of cinnamon and some white pepper, and that is the finish there. I will say, for it being 40% in a blended Scotch, we do get actually a medium to medium-ish to long finish here. So it does actually take a while to finish up on your palate. So there is a lasting finish. I just wish the flavors I was experiencing on that finish were more along the lines of what I was getting on the nose there. So it's a little bit more like the finish is just that kind of dry oakiness and a little bit of like white pepper mixed in with maybe some maltiness and a little bit of cinnamon. And that's sort of what you're left lingering on the palate on the finish. All right, guys, so the Chivas Regal 21-year Royal Salute. I would say this is one that I would recommend going for a bar pour and having a try at a bar and seeing how you sort of connect with the palate on this and see what your experience is like to see if it's kind of worth the price of admission. I think this goes for around $200 Canadian for the Chivas Regal 21-year Royal Salute. So it's kind of in that ballpark of those kind of higher end blended scotches. So definitely I would recommend this to be a try before you buy blended scotch. So thank you once again for tuning in for another episode, guys. Until next time, may your sails be full and your drowns be fuller. Cheers.